All right, welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by Isaac Friedhoff of Okemos Boys Soccer. How's it going, man?
Good about yourself.
Doing well. Okay, so coming off a district championship, going to play Detroit Catholic Central on Tuesday. How exciting is it to, go through the season? I think this is like the fourth time you've won districts.
Yeah. Yep. My freshman year, I was not on the varsity squad, but I made it my sophomore year, and obviously, I watched on my freshman year and watched them win a great district title. That was really fun because we knew that team was great. And then picking things up my sophomore year, playing against Grand Blanc in the final, that was a great game. And then, of course, last year against East Lansing was just the third time we played them. Just a lot of fun. I always love playing those guys. And then, of course, this year, kind of capping things off, 3 in a row for me, 4 in a row for my class. So that was really nice.
Yeah. For your class, I know obviously, everybody knows the team, the state title winning team from last year. I know a lot was gone from that team this year, but still a lot of guys are still there.
Mm-hmm.
What is this team like? How was it different from last year?
Well, the main thing that I would say is that like last year we kind of had two groups of like one group of starters and one group of reserves, and people kind of stayed in those groups for the most part. You had friends in each group, but for the most part, like when you're at practice, you were only with the starters, you were only with the reserves. And this year it's a lot more fluid because I think the difference last year from like the top player and the bottom player was pretty significant. But this year, like player 1 through player 25 is much closer. So it makes things a lot more fluid at practice. Everybody's there and everybody wants to get better because they know that if you can get just that little bit better, that you might be put in the playing group.
How long have you been playing soccer?
Oh goodness. 10 years now. I think I started when I was like 7 or 8, something like that.
Okay. Best memory that you can remember from any memory that you've had before high school?
Before high school, you said, or for high school?
Before high school.
Before high school. When I was a little, I think I was 11 or so. Uh, we had this super small. Obviously, coming from Okemos, we have like this castle team called Okemos Soccer Club. But my team was really good. That we played in the Whistle Division, which is West Side Suburban Soccer League. And so we played teams from Detroit, kind of like a premier type system, and we qualified for the Junior State Cup and played in kind of a lower division. And it was actually me and a bunch of the guys from last year's team all played together, and we went on and won the state cup as like 11-year-olds. And that was kind of like my first taste at like a major trophy. And so that would probably be my highlight.
Yeah. I was going to say best memory from high school. I'm like, yeah, that's too easy. So well, let me ask you this. I know this is a different season, but winning a state championship has got to bring confidence into, we've done this before. We can do it again. What was that like for you? I know that a lot of the guys from last year's class, obviously, and I know you played a big role in it as well. But what was that like to get that last year?
It was just like almost like the sense of closure that everything from like the last 9 or 10 years was like you finally reached like that peak of everything. Like you felt on top of the world, and like you just could see everybody else, and you were like all of those hours, all of that money gone to gas, all of the tournaments, all of the boots that I've gone through, everything like that, they finally paid off for something.
Where is the farthest you've traveled to play soccer?
Arizona. So I traveled this past spring to Mesa. They have this giant complex out there. It's actually ridiculous. They have like 25 or so turf fields. It was a showcase for the National League that I went to, and we played 3 games there, and that's definitely the farthest I've ever traveled.
Yeah. Playing, everyone knows Okemos is a powerhouse.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to soccer, I know, getting the title last year and all that. What's it just like to be a part of that?
It's kind of like a high expectation to live up to in a sense. Like you get there and everybody knows that like you go to Okemos, you're probably one of the top players. And so like it's hard because you watch kids get cut in August who are like yeah, you would start in a bunch of other teams in our league. Like you would start there, but you can't even make the team because like the expectations are so high. So it's just one of those things of recognize the expectation, but also realize that the expectations don't define you and that like they're not given to you at Okemos. You have to work for them. And it's just kind of the culture that's been created that we work as hard as we can in order to get those goals. And that's what makes us successful.
Do you want to play soccer in college?
Yes. And any type of form I will. I don't know if it'll be for like the varsity squad or the club squad, but I'm playing soccer in college. That's for sure.
Um, okay, so kind of going into that, okay, now I will ask you favorite high school game that you've played in your varsity career.
That's hard. There's been a lot of them.
I asked.
I would probably have to say playing Detroit Catholic Central earlier this year. I would say either that or playing Troy my junior year. Those are like two. Like we came into it knowing, hey, these are in both scenarios. These are two of the top like 3-4 teams in the state. Like these are two teams that you could be seeing in the state final. And the hype around it was surreal. Everybody in school knew. We had a giant crowd. We had like over 2,000 people at the high school there, and it was just really high quality soccer. And once you start playing in environments that are that difficult to get to, and it's one of the reasons that Okemos is so good. Like you have those huge games in the regular season that help you prepare you for the playoffs. And I would say that Catholic Central was just fun because obviously they're a great team. They're well coached. They have tons of talent everywhere. And it was just really it kind of woke up a lot of the guys because there were a couple guys on the team who were like, hey, we can still like do some stuff this year. We can go win districts. We can go win regionals. But I think there were a couple guys who were like, we can go districts, but how much farther can we go? And going up against Catholic Central, who we knew we were probably going to face in regionals, and tying them in just a great overall game, chances each way. It's kind of that highlight. And Troy last year just helped propel us forward and be like, hey, yeah, we definitely got this. We're going all the way.
Do you mean Troy, or just to clarify, Troy or Troy Athens?
It was Troy High School. Yeah, we played Troy High School last year. My junior year, it was on senior night actually for the seniors. So yeah.
Yeah. I forgot. There's. I know a lot of people when reference Troy. They also, Troy Athens also has a lot of soccer history as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you mind, like, I know when you live in the Lansing area, obviously, there's newspapers, then also 3 TV stations. Do you mind going up and talking on camera? And do you like when like your parents are like, oh, he's on TV again?
It's kind of mixed messages. Like, yeah, I like having people know, but at one point it's like, Mom, you don't need to keep showing people, or Dad, you don't need to keep like it's the real. And like the first time it ever happened to me, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. Because like you see it happen to all the guys, like you said, Jack last year, and like obviously he was like a guy that I've looked up to for forever. Aiden, two of those guys who's just been like really great soccer players, and you see them get all this attention. It's like that's really cool. And then you start getting it, and you're like, is this actually happening? But it's exhilarating, and then but it's fun in my opinion.
Yeah. Let's see. You're also not a big social media guy either.
No, I'm not.
Is it just like you just want to clear all the distractions or anything? Just focus on that.
That definitely does help it. Yeah. I would say that not having it kind of drags my attention. It keeps it more centralized, but also in my opinion, it also helps me recognize kind of getting rid of the external factors. Like, yeah, you can hype up everybody on every other team, but if you're the best player on the field there, then it doesn't matter what kind of social media you have. It doesn't matter how many likes or followers you have. That if you're the best player on that day, then you're the best player on that day. Nothing else is going to change that.
Let me ask you this. Did you go to the Raising Canes yet in Lansing?
I have not. I'm going to it on Monday, though. I do have plans to go to it on Monday. Ooh. Yeah, I actually got hurt at the very end of the Brighton game, which was the day it opened. And I was thinking about going to it right after that game, kind of like a nice little celebration to go do it after, and then got my leg messed up. And luckily it held through Heartland, but at the end I was like, yeah, we're still not feeling great. So I've taken 2 days off, but Monday after practice, I'm definitely going to hit it up.
Yep. Just like that guy on TV that said, I'm going to tell my future children I was the first ever customer at Raising.
Yeah.
That was the one of the best TV moments ever.
Yep.
So going into this week, you got a team that you're preparing for, Detroit Catholic Central, somebody that you played early on in the season. Does it help when you played somebody early on?
Yeah, I would definitely say it helps, but the other part is it doesn't just help us, it also helps them. Like we got a good sense of who they are now, but they also got a pretty good sense of who we are. So it's definitely a double-edged sword. I would probably say I'd rather have played them earlier than not played them earlier, because kind of I remember a bunch of like the younger guys earlier at practice were almost like this looking up at Goliath moment when they came into the stadium, because everybody's known that they got people like Kyle and Drew who are just great players and coming back and that have the potential to do some great stuff. And but I would say that playing them is an advantage, but they also gain an advantage coming after us.
Yeah, for sure. And then, and lastly, I know that you're a senior. At some point in a few months, this is high school soccer. Well, the high school soccer portion, the school portion is gonna end. Obviously, you'll have club later on in the year, but it's gonna end. And I mean, what are you gonna miss about it when it's all over? Or are you not ready to answer that yet?
Yeah, it's one of those things that like it's still kind of I don't want it to end. That's kind of like the cheesy obvious answer there, but there's just really something about, especially at Okemos, soccer is so well known and so well supported that you have a ton of kids that come out for it. And even like the littler kids, like the kids that come out that are in the little junior divisions of stuff, they might be in anywhere from like third grade up until eighth grade. And those eighth graders are like, oh, I want to like be doing that in 2 years. And you get to be those idols. It's just kind of this hierarchy almost of that soccer controls. We had this thing in the yearbook last year that was Viva runs the city. And that was kind of like this thing of soccer is one of our biggest prides at Okemos. We love it. We work for it. And obviously it paid off last year. But it's kind of hard thinking that I will never play another game under the lights at Okemos High. It's like one of my favorite things ever. It was just some of the most fun moments of my life. It became a second home to me in a sense.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, Isaac, that was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and good luck Tuesday against Detroit Catholic Central.
Yeah, thanks for having me.